So now we come to these slippery, tricksy ultrasonic sensors. A lot of people find that these are the most difficult bit to get going. I've definitely found they're the most delicate of the components, and sometimes we've had some problems with them not working, breaking quite easily, probably because of this right angle here. If this gets bent, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the solder joints. I've actually started reinforcing ours that we put in our kits with epoxy here to help that. But just go easy on them. Yeah, don't keep them loose in the box and shake it around with a battery pack because it's going to break. This is going on the front of my buggy, and it's going to be like the eyes, although it's a bit more like ears because it's an ultrasonic sensor. So one of these sends out a blip that you can't hear, a very high-pitched blip, which then echoes off things, and this one is a microphone and can hear the echo coming back. And depending on how long that echo is taken, it can work out the distance. It's not all that accurate, but it is cheap. You can see I've written on the tabs here, positive, negative, T and E. And, well, on this side, because there's epoxy on the side, you could, if yours isn't labelled up, you could trace it through to each pin and work out where each one goes. And you can see those. They're called slightly different things, like VCC is positive, trig and echo in the middle ones, and GND at the end, that's your negative connection. So I'm going to get these up here. And that's all good. So a good thing to start with is a program start. And then, as we often do, we're going to have a do forever loop after that. And the first thing we're going to put is not on the basic list. We have to go to the variables tab here, the purple one. And we're going to have let nothing equals 0, which sounds obvious. We're going to add a new variable here on that white bit. Add new variable, and that variable is going to be called distance. Make sure it's spelt right. Drag that over into the nothing when the arrow is telling you where to go. Just going to point out that some of these blocks that are different shape won't fit in there. And this round one fits nicely into that hole there. Let distance equal 0. Instead of 0, we can now go to the input output tab. We want distance in centimeters, which is going to be TAEB. Are you confused yet? Now remember, on the sensor, we got trig and echo, T and E. And on the crumble, we've got A and B. So we've told it to look for a variable. That means something that can change over time, that's called distance, that's measured in centimeters, and it's going to get its information from A and B. Let's just see if that's working. And this is quite a handy way of checking. So send it to the crumble, and I'm going to go back to variables and have a look at my variable distance there. 376 is measuring. So if I put my hand over that, nothing, because of course we haven't done the last two connections, have we? I thought maybe my sensor was broken. Let's do that now. I'm obviously not going to use the red and black for these. I'm going to use a yellow connected to A, that'll be for my trigger, and a green connected to B, that'll be for the echo. And it's starting to look a little bit more complex now. I'll point it up in the air. Let's try that again. Send it again. Okay, you can see that as soon as my hand went over, it was measuring the distance there. So if I get something else, it often doesn't really measure your hand very well. So something like a letter or something, I'm going to put that here, and I'm going gradually up and down, and I can see the numbers changing there quite nicely. So you can imagine this is the front of your crumble, of your buggy, and your buggy's going along, and you can tell it when it gets close enough to something. If you're in the assault course, you might want it to stop, turn around and move around it. If you're in a battle, you might want to attack it. So this is kind of what makes our buggies clever. As long as you can see that the distance is changing there as expected, then you're all good to go for the next bit. Let's connect up a sparkle. We're going to go to the control tab here, the orange ones. I think it's on basic as well, actually. No, it's not. So we're on control. We want if, then, else, and if. If something happens, then do this. Else, which you could think as otherwise, if it doesn't happen, you do this. All right, now don't worry if you're not quite sure about that. Just follow the code and all will become clear. We go to operators. There's two ways of doing this. You can see some of these, kind of more mathematical ones here. We've got 0 is less than 0, which is not true, and 0 is greater than 0. So let's put 0 is less than 0. And instead of that one, we'll put our distance variable again. Okay, if the distance that the sensor detects is less than, let's put 20 centimeters, then let's just do something very simple here. Set sparkle 0 to red. Else, or otherwise, so that means if the distance is more than 20 centimeters, then turn sparkle 0 off. Now we should be able to see quite easily whether something is more than 20 centimeters in front of the sensor, or whether it's closer than 20 centimeters. I guess in this case we should switch the light on. Let's give it a go. Throw it up. Alright, now I'll just move my hand in. Let's see if I can do this so you can see it as well. Bringing my hand in from the side here. It's coming on there. I move my hand back away and it's gone off. We know that it's working, and you could, if you want, put your motors in. This is what we'll be doing in the next video. We'll actually get it to the motors and get the buggy to move and stop if things are in the way.